Good morning. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give it just a minute as people are logging in. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning. Good morning. We have a few more joining us. We'll give it just a couple more seconds and then I'll go ahead and get us started. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. I think we have everyone that we're going to have in. Thank you again for being with us this morning. We have a wonderful set of people here. My name is Yasmin, and we have the wonderful, incredible Rebecca Blatt who's joining us, our Senior Associate Dean, and I'll have her talk a little bit about herself.
Hi, good morning. It's so great to see you all. I'm a senior associate dean here at the Cronkite School. I've been here about 11 years and just love being here and love working with our students, especially our transfer students. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to shout out that we will also have in the Q&A Brad Longwell, our incredible Assistant Director of Student Success. Hopefully I got that right. And he will be here to help answer any questions that you all may have about the academic advising piece. But the Q&A is open throughout the entire call today. So if you do find that you have questions about anything we're going over, please feel free to use that and we'll answer as quickly as we can. But I will go ahead and turn it over to Rebecca, and you'll hear a little bit more from me towards the end.
Awesome. If you're familiar with ASU, these are things that you may know we take a lot of pride in, but really reflect the culture here and really the emphasis that we put on innovation and serving the communities across the state of Arizona and beyond. And so we are a Hispanic serving institution. We are number one in the US for innovation 10 years in a row. In particular, we really focus on making sure that students leave here ready to thrive in the workplace and in the industry. And so that focus on employability is really substantial for us. We focus a lot on providing career services and career support for our students. And so that's something that we really invest in and that we are able to provide to Cronkite students at a level that they just can't find at other schools and other universities. And so that extends obviously across ASU, but also within the Cronkite School. So we are ranked number one in the country for journalism school by the Broadcast Educators Association. There aren't overall US News and World Report rankings for journalism schools. So we look at a variety of different factors when we're considering how we perform relative to our peers. And so that's one indicator of that. There are, of course, many others. Within the building, before students even leave and either as an intern or through full-time work when they graduate, we have a lot of opportunity for students to be producing professional level work in the building. Part of that is related to Arizona PBS, which is one of the largest public media organizations in the country based within our school. So students have an opportunity to produce content for Arizona PBS. That's an audience of 1.8 million households. So they're able to do that from the very beginning. Cronkite students then are recognized for their work more than students from any other journalism or mass communication school in the country. That's especially important for them as they enter the job market, for them to be able to say, not only I can do this work and let me show you the portfolio of work to demonstrate it, but also this is award-winning work. And that differentiates me from many, many other students across the country. Beyond news, though, and journalism, we also have quite a large portion of our students who are focused on other kinds of content creation besides journalism. We have growing programs in strategic communication, digital marketing. So students who don't necessarily want to do traditional journalism work, but are excited to produce content either personally or for organizations, advocacy, nonprofit organizations, marketing agencies or PR agencies, doing in-house work for nonprofit organizations or corporate America. So there's a lot of different application and experience that students get to have. And we have, of course, also, access to professional sports across Phoenix in a way that there are very few markets that, as you know, that have the kind of access to collegiate and pro sports. So for our students who are focused on sports journalism or sports communication, obviously being able to walk down the street and access all of those professional teams is really meaningful to them. And to sort of underscore that, in addition to having all those different programs, we've also built our programs to be quite flexible and inclusive. So a student can do both, spend time in our newsroom and doing investigative reporting for, looking at government and government corruption, while at the same time then having an internship with the Diamondbacks or the Phoenix Suns, that kind of thing. And so their career outcomes and sort of trajectories vary really widely. And that is actually one of the things that I enjoy most watching for students is that path, as I'm sure you see this too, the path really, they come in thinking one thing and then get to do something else. So these are the programs that we have on the downtown Phoenix campus are journalism, sports journalism, and students wanting to do digital marketing or strategic communication. And just to sort of underscore our work in our sports journalism program. So these are students who want to produce content around sports in some way. Some want to be sideline reporters or producers for live sports for outlets like ESPN, sorry. And some want to work actually for teams or leagues. We see that increasingly because students want to continue in their fandom and serving other fans. So that's increasingly an interest to our students. So it's a really wide range. Students here get opportunities to, while their students do play-by-play, produce live stream coverage for Big 12 and ASU, work on sports marketing and campaigns for pro teams and also for Sun Devil Athletics. With the transition from Sun Devil Athletics from Pac-12 to Big 12, there will be increasing opportunities both on the sports marketing side and in the sports coverage side. So lots of opportunity for them there. Our digital audiences program, this is effectively a digital marketing degree. So students are learning over the course of the required courses for this, they're learning how to understand how people behave online and through mobile devices, how you understand audience behavior, how you measure the effectiveness of digital marketing campaigns. That includes search engine marketing and search engine optimization, social media campaigns, digital audience analytics, and all of the sort of parts in between of how you understand and produce work that's going to engage audiences, whether you're trying to sell a product or you're trying to influence political outcomes or influence community or civic engagement. Those are tools that apply across the board. And sorry, I should have also mentioned that's a major that we have both on campus and online. So students have opportunities to do that in either modality. And then Mass Comm and Media Studies is another one that we offer on the downtown Phoenix campus or online. This is more of a focus on a liberal arts approach to media and really understanding the impact of media and the sort of relationship between media and society, or media and sort of fill in the blank, media and sports, media and politics. And so this is actually the major we have that is most flexible. There's Actually, there's only one required course that's specified. The others are electives. And so it really can be sort of a choose your own adventure for students, but students who are transferring credits from elsewhere, this is often the easiest one for them to use those credits as efficiently as possible because it is very inclusive in the courses that can apply to that major. So for those reasons, it can be really attractive to students who are um, trying to complete a degree that maybe they started before, transferring credits from other institutions, and looking to think very broadly about what the relationship between, the relationship that they want to have with media content creation and also understanding the impact of media more broadly. Excuse me, and digital media literacy is one that we offer online only, at least for right now. And this is really to make sense of how consumers understand the media they see and interact with the media they see, how we as consumers can be smart and responsible about what we consume. And ultimately, some of this is about verifying online information, understanding the role of misinformation or disinformation in what we see happening outside of our window every day, and giving students tools to be both content creators and content consumers. And this is one that really could be applicable then to things like K-12 education, library or digital media specialists, people who work in, other ways of interacting with civic engagement, where we're really trying to educate the public about how to understand what they see and how to make sense of what is true and what is not true, or where a source of information came from. And then, of course, as I mentioned, these degrees are meant to be opportunities for students to explore lots of different options and to combine those different options. So the same student who is, in this picture, anchoring our Cronkite News newscast, which is produced here 5 nights a week, that same student can then be taking a class on strategic communication campaigns or search engine marketing. And so we really see opportunities for students to both explore where they want to go, but also combine these things. So, our bilingual students who then can apply skills of other languages to their reporting, to their interviewing, that is like supercharges their value in the workplace and the opportunities that they have when they graduate. So lots of different opportunities to explore and then also combine multiple skills or multiple disciplines in wherever the student wants to go next. For our campus immersion students, before they graduate, they will do some kind of capstone experience. And what that means, this is specifically for our journalism and mass communication students, so journalism and strategic communication, also our sports journalism students. So again, sports journalism, or people who want to work for teams or leagues in sports strategic communication. Where they will spend a semester really immersed in a professional experience that is housed within the Cronkite School. So obviously internships are great. We require that of certain majors. We encourage students to do, many more beyond that. But often in an internship, you're not doing the full job that a full-time professional would do. So you might be like helping a full-time professional do their job. But for example, in a broadcast newsroom, you're not the one who's going to anchor the news at 5 o'clock. You're not the one who's going to be on air from a remote location. You might be with someone in a remote location, but not doing it exactly. So we want you to have the experience of actually doing it. So we have newsrooms here in Phoenix, also DC and LA, where students can spend a semester. And then they are the ones who are live in the field, doing live shots, anchoring on our set, shooting video, editing video, writing scripts, so that they can really have that experience. Same thing for students who want to be writers, who want to be social media producers. We want them actually doing that job and having the experience of the pressure of that, but also how you navigate that, how you navigate the deadline pressure or the stress in the workplace, that kind of thing, before they're thrown into it externally. We have an option, Cronkite Noticias, for students who want to do journalism in Spanish, sports opportunity here. The Cronkite Agency is the equivalent experience for students who want to do PR or digital marketing, where they are working with external clients on a daily basis, producing social media content strategy or public relations. We have another content studio in LA where students are working on their own media brands and developing their own media channels. We have an entrepreneurship experience, a separate experience for students who want to do investigative journalism, and then another experience for students who want to work on the TV production side and really doing more advanced work in video editing with graphics and that kind of thing. And then we always obviously encourage students to do global experiences, study abroad, or working on a project that goes abroad. And one of the things that we've really worked on in the last few years is developing funding and scholarships for students to be able to do that who otherwise couldn't afford to leave the country and get to travel and see the world. So just this year we have an experience in Cuba, one in Madrid, one in Argentina, an opportunity in Dublin. We also have a group going to Rwanda for a photo video experience. So there are lots of different, 1 week experience, 2 week experience, a semester experience, lots of different opportunities for students. Excuse me. And then just a couple of notes about other opportunities. We do have Cronkite School minors that students even in other majors could pursue in digital marketing and digital media literacy. We also do have several options, and Brad has been a big driver of this for students who can do stay for 2 extra semesters and complete a master's degree with us. So usually our master's programs are 3 semesters. But students who are Cronkite undergrads are able to then sort of double count some of the courses they take to expedite how quickly they can get that master's degree. That's especially helpful for transfer students who are coming in with a relatively short period of time with us. So if they're here for 2 years instead of 4, often they're like, but I didn't get to do all these other things. Or I just figured out exactly, what I want to focus on. And now I'm like, out of credits and graduating. And so for those students in particular, it can be really helpful to then do in a more, advanced and in-depth way what they've determined they really want to do when they graduate. Part of what makes my job fun and exciting every day is that I get to work with incredible people. So Yasmin and Brad on the call are examples of that. Our faculty are incredible. So this is just like a sampling of them. Angela Hill is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Our Ida B. Wells professor in journalism. Abby Zufeld is an award-winning podcaster and also works with our digital marketing students in the Cronkite Agency. Eli Shmooney is a serial entrepreneur, media entrepreneur, and so he teaches entrepreneurship, but also coaches and mentors students who are trying to launch their own businesses or launch new products. He's super effective at doing that. Many of our students get a lot of funding before they've even graduated, and he's super passionate about doing that. So just an example of the kinds of people our students get to work with. And there are a lot of resources to help them along the way. And Yasmin or Brad, please jump in. But certainly academic advising from, before day one. We provide all the technology that students would need. They're not required to have any, specific laptop or any laptop at all for that matter. If they're here on campus, if they're online, then they are responsible for having a personal device that they can use. But we provide access to all of the software that they would need for any kind of editing that they're doing. Certainly our students who are here on campus who are doing things like photo and video, we provide all of that equipment for them. So they are not having to add any expense beyond, what they're paying as a student. We bring in a lot of speakers. We bring in a lot of recruiters, dozens of recruiters a year from across the country. And also, lots of opportunity for students to connect with one another, clubs and media organizations. And then we really do focus on career services in addition to bring in recruiters who are here to hire students. Before they get to that point, making sure that they have a really excellent resume, they have a portfolio of work that demonstrates exactly what they can do and what their capacity, for growth is. Making sure that they've had the opportunity to develop all of the skills that they need getting into the workforce in whatever part of the industry they're excited about. So in addition to our amazing faculty, really this is like a whole, a very holistic approach to making sure students have what they need to be successful.
And I also would like to add that, especially for our transfer student population, part of the student engagement process is also finding jobs and being in the building. I know for my department specifically, we hire some student workers, and that's always of interest for some of our transfer students. But also, they have some paid positions through the leadership positions in the student clubs and media organizations. And I know that's also really helpful for our transfer students to start to connect with their peers. Sometimes that transition can be a little bit hard because they're coming in where other juniors and seniors might already have those established relationships. But it is a very welcoming, tight-knit community at Cronkite that we have a lot of transfer students have success once they're here. They connect and try to not just be inside the classroom, but also involved outside of the classroom. And I would say that is very helpful for them as well.
Yeah, and just to echo that, one of the things that we do at the beginning of every semester, the first like Monday of the semester is we host what we call Cronkite Nation Night, but every student media organization, every student club, lots of other resources on campus have tables there. So students can go table to table and learn about the different opportunities they have through, student media and student organizations and how to jump in and how to get connected with that. So they're not coming in sort of blind, looking at websites, trying to figure out what opportunities they have to connect with other students. And then, just sort of building on that, students can live and learn in downtown Phoenix, but we also have opportunities, especially through our online programs for people to connect with peers and faculty and alumni around the world. And, that is a very, very powerful network to support them both while they're here and then ultimately when they leave. I mentioned that the Diamondbacks, I mean, when you go behind the scenes with their media operation during a game, and you say like, of the 30 people who are working in their control room producing what you see on the Jumbotron, how many of you went to the Cronkite school? And it's like, 18 out of 20 people raise their hand, and then you turn behind you and they all have their hands raised. So, that is quite a professional network for them. So maybe I'll turn this over to Yasmin to talk through those requirements.
Yes, thank you so much, Dean Blatt. I really appreciate you just explaining a little bit more about the Cronkite School. Hopefully, you all already know a little bit about this, and this is all just a refresher for you, or maybe you learned some new aspects of why the Cronkite School is just the best place for your students to go. But I did want to just also mention a few pieces about the admission requirements. So, for transfer students, I'm looking at this like second paragraph here. For transfer students with 12 to 23 transferable credits, ASU's admission requirements would be that they meet both the first year and the transfer requirements. So just be aware that ASU is looking at the credits that are transferable to the university to determine whether or not a student will have the admission requirements of a incoming first year student, or if they would have the requirements of a transfer student, or both if they fall between that 12 and 23 range. So for first year applicants, that's looking at the high school information. If the student didn't apply or didn't complete their high school diploma, but they have a GED, ASU does have on their website what the acceptable scores would be for that. Otherwise, also on the website, and I can share the link after I'm done talking a little bit, but you can see that the requirements for an incoming first year student would be 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 3 years of lab science, 2 years of social science, 2 years of the same second language, and 1 year of fine art or CTE. In addition to that, If they were falling under that first year requirement, we would be looking at them having a 3.0 GPA in those courses on an unweighted scale. If they had graduated in the top 25% of their class, or if they have a certain ACT or SAT score based on their residency status. So oftentimes, most of the students that are coming into the Cronkite School are coming with more than what's needed to meet the requirement as a transfer applicant. So this is the majority of students in that bottom paragraph. Transfer applicants will have to have 24 or more transferable credits, and they would need to have a 3.0 GPA if they were interested in the journalism and mass communication degree or in our sports journalism degree. So that is a higher requirement than what's required for general admission. It's just because we know that in order for them to be successful, for the work that they would need to do in this specific set of majors, that would be something that they would need to be successful. Sometimes some students don't have those requirements met at the time of applying. However, we do find that sometimes they will do one of the other programs that have the general admission requirements, which would be the mass communication and media studies degree, the digital media literacy degree, or the digital audience degree. Those only require a 2.5 GPA if they have the 24 or more transferable credits. So if that's where they're falling, they can come into Cronkite for one semester once they have an established ASU GPA. If they are a full-time student for that semester and they have earned a 3.0 or higher at ASU, then we could talk about possibly changing that major over to one of the journalism-based degrees instead. So there is room for them to find a path into these programs if that's what interests them. And I'm happy to like chat with anyone outside if you have a specific question as well for a student, and we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper there. As far as the ASU admission process, hopefully this isn't new news to anyone, but they will start by submitting the ASU application. So that's the undergraduate application where the application fee needs to be paid, or if they qualify for a waiver, they can do that at the time of applying. In addition to that, they will need to submit official transcripts. So if they're falling into that like weird spot with less than the 24 transferable credits, they still may be required to send official high school transcript. Otherwise, college transcripts will be just what would be needed for admission purposes. Once they've submitted their application to ASU, they will get an email to activate their ASU Right, which is their username in order to log into My ASU. So My ASU is the portal where they will find all of the information that they need. So if they're interested in looking at their application status, if they've applied for the FAFSA, anything that they'll need as a prospective student at ASU is all listed in that portal. So it's really helpful for them to activate their ASU Right. I do find with transfer students, sometimes they applied possibly as first year students a couple of years ago, and then they decided to transfer and they're like, well, what happened? What's next? What's my status? And actually the way that the ASU Right works is it's always tied to the student through their like social security number. So basically, they're not going to get a new ASU Right if they apply a couple of years after the first time. It's all connected to that first original ASU Right that they had when they first applied to ASU. This is also the case if they join a My Path to ASU. That ASU Right is always connected to their name and their social security number. So they won't have to they won't get an email to activate a new one because it's already active in our system because they had it applied or they were associated or affiliated with ASU in some other way, shape, or form. On the My ASU, they'll also find the status of the FAFSA. So for the fall 2025 and spring 2026, the FAFSA is now available. So hopefully all of the transfer students who are interested in applying to ASU for fall, they can also start the FAFSA application. And if the student is admitted and they are set and they're ready and they're committed and they want to come, the first step that they would need to do for enrollment is paying enrollment deposit. It's $250 and it's listed on their My ASU. That's why it's important to activate that My ASU and make sure that they're following the next steps from there. In addition to that, once they've paid the enrollment deposit, they can schedule their appointment for advising and register for classes. And that's when Brad and his wonderful team come in and really help students. They can help them before, but if they want to register for classes during that appointment, then they would have to have that enrollment deposit paid and processed. So those are just some of those steps that students can take when they are interested in coming to ASU and the Cronkite School. So I will just say thank you so much for joining us again. I've really appreciated this opportunity. If you want to continue to connect with us, please do. We have social media, obviously, but you can also visit our wonderful website. And if you have any questions for me, or if you want to send any prospective students our way, our email is attendcronkite@asu.edu, and I'd be happy to help them in any way that I can. But I will now turn it over to Kathy as she talks a little bit more about my path.
Thanks so much. All right. So the benefits of my path to ASU, I know some of you who are on today are very familiar with these. Never hurts to review though and share with colleagues, and maybe some new people are watching and would like to share this information with students. So students save time and money on their college education overall by starting at the community college, maximizing transfer credit, getting as much as they can done with you all, and hopefully completing an associate's degree along the way as well. They follow a customized course by course and term by term pathway that minimizes any potential loss of transfer credit. And they track their progress all along the way using what's called my transfer guide, which I will show you in just a moment. They receive personalized communications along the way from the university, from the school. Like in this case, they would get a welcome email from the Walter Cronkite School. They also hear from our transfer student ambassadors. So they get support while they're still with you. That's the right information at the right time, because when they sign up for My Path, we know when they plan to transfer. So they're getting very early planning information at the beginning, not like, okay, it's time to apply, until it really is, that they're closer to the end of their pathway. They also get access to talk to ASU's transfer coordinators and invitations to events, both online and in person. And they earn guaranteed admission into the major of their choice when all requirements are satisfied. And because of what Yasmin went over, when all requirements are satisfied is the important part there. And that's outlined on the pathway as well. So when students complete their My Path to ASU for journalism, then and the other majors, but those requirements are on the pathway. So they meet those same requirements that she went over. And here's a quick video about My Path to ASU and what it looks like when you're using it. It's great. You don't have to sign up for an account just to be able to use it and help students. You'll probably have to click it twice. Oh, thank you. Sometimes it gives me a hard time. I'll have to learn your secret on running that thing. Okay, so My Path to ASU sign up steps for students who are outside, or no, sorry, this one is for the students who are in Maricopa community colleges. So if you're working in Maricopa, you're helping students, these are their sign up steps. And Yasmin, if you could go ahead and click 3 times. We'll look at all the little details here. So Maricopa students have a landing page. Thank you. Just for Maricopa, all about My Path to ASU and the way they sign up. They actually sign up a little bit differently than students from other institutions, because it goes through, the sign up goes through the Maricopa Student Information system. So when you're using My Path to ASU, like we just saw in the video, you would click on that right button, the My Path to ASU Majors button. And then when students are ready to sign up, they click on, obviously, the sign up button on the left, and then go ahead and click again. And it will take them to where they can sign in to their student information system with their MEID and password. And then if you want to go ahead and click 3 times, that'd be great. I think that'll take us all the way. Oh, one more too. Okay, so when students sign up for My Path to ASU and they're a Maricopa student, it's essentially like changing their academic plan, changing their major, or establishing their major. So they go into their academic plan in SIS, they click on Change Plan, Subplan, and then they are asked what term and they're starting, and they might need your help with that because depending on where time is in the term, they might need to select a specific term because of financial aid applicability. So that gets a little bit tricky sometimes. So you're probably familiar with students who have not known which term to sign up for, but usually it's just the next one that has not started yet. And then they indicate their pathway, which is selecting their major then for Maricopa, and it establishes their subplan in SIS, and then they indicate if they're going to be going online or in person. Then they submit their agreement by confirming their plan, and they acknowledge that ASU and their college share data under FERPA to support the partnership and a smooth transfer. And then they acknowledge that their sign up has been submitted. And then these are the steps for students outside of Maricopa County. So all of our other community colleges in Arizona and out of state. So this is just showing you again, some of the benefits of signing up so that students see the difference about like, why would I want to sign up? I can just look at the requirements online and follow it. I think a big advantage is that being in that communication flow and being connected with ASU early on. And then knowing that there's a place waiting for them in their major when they meet all of the pathway requirements and, of course, university and college requirements. So they answer, step 1 is they select how they want to study, online or in person, and they indicate where they're going to school right now. And then ASU Local is a handful of locations across the US, and students can select that as well. Those are online programs with local support. They choose their program, which has narrowed down based on what they put in on step 1. So there's several ways to search that, as you can see. And then on step 3, we find out who they are. They're agreeing to being allowed to get text messages from us as part of the communication flow. Those are not very frequent, but it's nice that we can connect with them and they can feel, again, part of the ASU community early on. So then they have access to the My Transfer Guide. They will be prompted to set up a password. They can access that anytime to track their progress. And here's what the My Transfer Guide looks like. All right, so this is just a close-up of what we were looking at. We were on the My Path to ASU tab. As you can see, those 4 little links at the top. Course search comes in really, really handy if they've gone anywhere other than your institution, so they can see how those courses would transfer and possibly apply to their pathway. Of course, your courses are going to be down that middle column, so they can see right off the bat if those are going to be direct equivalents, or if they have some other, choices there that they can meet a requirement with. And then they can use that course progress column if they'd like to mark off classes as they complete them, or if they're in progress, then they can save it and of course print it out if they'd like as a PDF to use along with all of their associate degree resources that they get from you. And the big URL to remember is asu.edu/mypath-to-ASU. So that's how you get into searching for pathways and signing up for pathways both. We also wanted to remind you that international students can, and actually every student can sign up for My Path to ASU. We encourage you to encourage your students to sign up for it, even if they're considering other universities at the same time, especially when they first start out. If they feel like, I don't want to commit, it's really not a commitment at all. It's an access to a great transfer support tool. And if they make a different choice that's best for them, that's great. But all along the way, they'll be getting all of the tools for ASU so that they feel informed while they're with you and plan accordingly for transfer. So to sum up, they create their My Path to ASU. They complete their My Path while they're with you and apply to ASU, ideally about a year before if they're planning to start in the fall, ideally at least 6 months in advance if they're planning to start in the spring. And they finish their ASU degree and they go on to graduation and beyond. So we'll open it up for a Q&A now. And I think I forgot to say that I'm from Academic Alliances at ASU, and we'd like to thank Dean Blatt and Brad and Yasmin for doing this College Connections session. And I'm going to go ahead and put the URL in the chat where we can, if you want to share it with your colleagues or refer back, this is where we house the past slide decks from College Connections and the recordings.
And we're still on 2, so if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A, and we'll hang out for a minute to see what kind of questions we get. Kathy, it looks like someone's raising their hand. Did you want to give a...
I'm trying to see if I can see who it is. It's Diana. I'll go ahead and I'm going to mark everybody allowed to talk.
Okay.
Okay, Diana, we can hear you now.
Hi, I just have a question about the My Transfer Guide. Is there a specific link to a My Transfer Guide that we can use without signing up for those programs first from the advising side?
The My Transfer Guide is the same as the pathway that the student would sign up for. But no, they get that sign in for My Transfer Guide when they sign up for My Path to ASU. But you essentially would get the same information if you just have them look at the pathway and not actually sign up. If they're saying, I just don't want to sign up right now, then you could have them just look at the pathway and use that as a transfer guide.
Okay, great. Thank
The
you.
only thing that's missing is that column with the in progress and completed.
Yeah, I really like that part. That's why I was asking.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, if they want to go ahead and if they want to sign up so that they can access that and use that, then if they do change their major, or if let's say they're part-time and it's taking them longer than the 4-year time frame, they can always sign up again. We look at the most recent sign up as their real pathway.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think we might be good to go.
Yeah, thank you
You all
again,
know where to
Kathy.
find us. All right. Thanks so much, everybody.